choosing to go all in was a very scary decision. It felt very visceral to me that I was cutting off 99% of all opportunities out there. Entrepreneurs only feel two emotions: agony and ecstasy. This is either the best day ever or I want to quit. If I had an up month, well, I'm so smart, I'm so great. And then if we crash the next month, I'm a fraud. That's a hard roller coaster to be on.
Well, hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Scaling the Gap. I am so excited to share our guest with you today. Jordan and I have been friends for quite a few years. We met way back in the day when I was just beginning my business called Home Pro Toolbox. And he does something really fascinating. And I can promise you that you have never met someone who does what Jordan does. He is an absolute expert in his field. And on top of that, he's just a fantastic human with great business philosophies and a really humble heart. And I cannot wait for you to get to meet him. So, Jordan Gobey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Madeleine. Excited to be here with you.
Yes, delighted to have you. I love bringing people that I've collaborated with in the past to my present world, into my present life, and have them share what they're amazing at with our listeners. So why don't we go ahead and start there? Tell us a little bit about who you are and the work you do in this world.
Sure. So I am the founder of Growth Community, and I work with experts, thought leaders, coaches, and consultants to help them scale their impact and really implement life-changing results and transformations for their clients using the power of communities.
Yes. So for the uninitiated, tell us what the power of a community actually means in practical language.
Yeah. So most of us have tried to learn something on our own, whether we buy a self-help book or we take an online course. And the problem with all of these things is not the information or the knowledge, right? We can consume it, we can listen to the video, it all makes sense, but it's the implementation, it's the practical action taking side of achieving big results and big transformations in our lives. That's where we get stuck because it's really hard to do hard things all by yourself.
That's right.
And so when we do them in a community with other people who are on the same mission, on the same journey, they have the same challenges and the same goals, we are able to get such better results as an individual, as a participant, but then also as the leader of that group. We're able to help so many more people at the same time by doing things in transformational communities.
Yeah. Yes. That's so true. You know, man on an island is really a thing. You feel like you're the only one going through this problem that there are so many other people facing just alongside of you. You just don't have connectivity to them. So how did the communities come to being? You know, certain platform you work off of. Tell us about that.
Mhm. Yeah, so I've been a lifelong entrepreneur, which is really a journey of knowing yourself, personal improvement, development, and learning new skills all the time. I started in digital marketing and doing all these things that there was no handbook, there were no courses you could take in college. So it's self-taught, self-led, which means I consumed a lot of online courses. I bought a lot of courses, and I think most of us have bought courses. Sometimes we buy them and we don't finish them. Sometimes we buy them and we don't even start them because they felt like a really good idea at the time of like,
Yep.
wow, it would be so cool to learn how to edit my own YouTube videos, except I don't even record any YouTube videos right now, but maybe one day if I did, I would love to know how to edit them. So we buy all these courses and that's what I was doing. And back in the, early 2000s, 2010s, like that was a huge thing. But the reality of that industry is people in that industry saw that while they might have made a lot of sales, they didn't always achieve a lot of success for their students and for their clients.
Mm,
They didn't get a lot of completion rates. They didn't get a lot of testimonials. They didn't get people writing in, say, this course changed my life. Because again, it's really hard to do these hard things all on
sure.
your own.
Yeah.
So I had hired a bunch of coaches and I was a big fan of coaching. And that whole world started convalescing about 5, 6 years ago into these online community platforms because
Yeah.
before then there really weren't any dedicated tools out
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
so when
There's
people
Facebook
think
groups, right?
exactly,
That was
that's
the most
been
elevated version, the Facebook group.
yeah. And so there have been these groups out there, these Facebook groups, and then people started doing WhatsApp groups and Slack groups. They started trying to
Sure.
use any platform possible to try to create communities, but there wasn't really dedicated community tools and platforms out there.
Sure.
So about 5 or so years ago, I was working in online courses, and a friend and colleague that I was working with actually went off and started a community platform, which became Circle. And I could see that everyone at Circle had come from the online courses world and realized that the future of
Mhm.
online courses is community based. And it's
Mhm.
having people come together and not be isolated and disconnected and alone and overwhelmed. So I loved that industry because I had seen so many results for myself, and I knew that it was so powerful that you could just go to a subject matter expert who was doing the thing that you wanted to be doing and you could learn directly from them. And seeing those experts start to create their own communities, I knew I wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah.
I had so much background experience in tech and in strategy and in marketing. And those are things that a lot of times experts might struggle with
Sure.
because
Don't
they're
have.
so focused on their subject matter.
That's
But
right.
if they had all these other pieces, they would be able to help thousands of people with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's really what led me into this online community world.
Yeah, and that's how we met, right? Because
That's
you are
exactly
a
right.
Circle expert, and Home Pro Toolbox is built on the Circle platform.
Hmm.
And even today, if people who are creators or online course creators or coaches go to Circle and ask who can help me, it's you. So,
Yeah.
being a little humble about that, but the number one most referred by Circle communities themselves, which is now a huge organization with thousands of different communities. And this has really been a place where you've really, really been able to build a beautiful business and shine really
Hmm.
brightly, work with incredible thought leaders across all sorts of different types of industries. It's just been really awesome to, you and I started building businesses kind of in this way around the same time. And it's been really cool to watch and to watch each other grow in different ways and to
Hmm.
watch you, really take off with this single minded view of community first attitude to with the heart of supporting entrepreneurs and supporting the people they serve to an outcome, right? It doesn't do anyone any good if you buy the course and never use the course and then you're annoyed that you wasted
Yeah.
your money. And this concept of building in a community focused from the start way of launching a business or launching a course or of bringing value to your community has really transformed how much more the user gets out of the experience. Pretty cool.
Yeah. And the thing I like about it as well is there is a connotation in this industry, just like in all online native industries of, is this a scam? Is this real? Is someone
Mm,
just trying to take my money? Because unfortunately, there are a lot of
sure.
just crappy
Sure.
products or people out there that, and you don't know. It's really hard to
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I like about the community based model is it is inherently a more intimate, connected, and transparent environment. Like
Yeah.
no one who's trying to scam people wants to bring them all together in a
Sure.
room and
To
get in
complain
front of
about how
them.
bad they are.
Exactly. So it's almost like a green flag of saying, hey, there's other people out there selling online courses that will supposedly teach the same thing that I teach,
Sure.
but they're
Sure.
not willing to show up every week and get in front of you and actually listen to you and answer your questions and help
Yeah.
you. But because I care more about seeing you succeed than just taking your dollars at the front end, I want to
Sure.
help you get all the way to the finish line. And so for
Yeah.
me, that attracts really great people, which is how you and I got connected, because it's
Yep.
people that actually have a heart to see impact. And
Sure.
so I get to work with great people and then they attract great clients. And it's just this virtuous cycle. So it's been really fun. And I just feel really fortunate to be in this little niche.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Since we're on the positive upswing, let's keep it going in that direction. Why
Sure.
don't you share with us one of your unexpected delights in this entrepreneurial journey? We will get into the shadow here in just a moment. But let's stay with the
Sure.
with the delight, something that you would never have expected to come out of this journey.
Yeah. So when you mentioned earlier, you used this word single minded focus on
Yeah.
doing this community stuff. It's funny because a few years prior to that, I was running a different business. I was running a marketing agency, and it was the exact opposite. I had
Mm.
no single focus on anything. It was, we would do anything for anybody who had any money, like just, it doesn't matter.
You can
And
slap it
if
on the counter. We'll sell it to
and if
you.
it was something I hadn't done before, the answer was yes, we'll figure it out. Sounds
Sure.
great. And that's scratched a certain itch of intellectual
Mm.
curiosity and learning and doing new things and variety. But it's a really difficult business model to try to be
Yeah.
successful and scalable
Right.
and all of these things. So when I started doing what I'm doing now, I knew I wanted to do things very, very differently, because if I do the same thing I did before, I'm going to get the same results I got before.
Yes.
And I wanted very different results. I wanted more
Hmm.
scalability. I wanted easier delivery and operations. I wanted to make more money. I wanted all of these things. I
Sure.
wanted to be able to hire and replace myself. So choosing to go all in on one narrow focus and doing a productized service was a very scary decision at the beginning, but ended up being one of the best decisions in the business world that I've ever done, because it allowed me to achieve mastery very, very quickly and to get
Mm.
known in an industry very quickly, and really to become the best. And
Yeah.
it's surreal that just in a couple of years I can say we've built more circle communities than anyone else in the entire world.
Yes.
And, there are videos out there that say, what's the one thing that you can do better than anyone else? And that feels like a daunting question, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm competing against everyone else in the whole world, but it is possible to find these little pockets and these little niches. And if you actually can become that number one person, it's an amazing experience and feeling. It opens up so many doors. And one of those unexpected doors that happened to me was that I had a few sort of A-list creator people out there
Sure.
that I had followed. I'd watched their videos. One of them was Justin Welsh and the other one was Ali Abdaal. And in the same month, both of them came knocking on my door last year, and they were like, "Hey, I need your help starting a circle community." And that was just
Mm.
incredible that they needed my expertise and my help
Yeah.
to grow their businesses. And
Yeah.
so just getting to work with them. And then Ollie ended up inviting me on his podcast. And so I went out to
Mm.
London last year with my wife and recorded at his house, and just
Awesome.
such a surreal experience that I never would have predicted before that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And not only that they came knocking, but that you had it to give, right? They
Mm,
didn't come knocking. You're like, oh no. You're like, absolutely, yes, I can help you. And here's how, right? That asserting of that expertise in a highly specified way is a really awesome thing. One of the things I've said way more times than I ever expected. I asked a client of mine who built a business from 12 million to $40 million. And I started working with them when they were at the 12-ish spot. And I'd asked him, right around maybe he was hitting the 15. I was like, damn impressed at that. I'd never been that close up to someone doing that build. And I asked him, I said, so what is it that you attribute your success to? Like, what is your philosophy? And he said, concentrate and dominate.
mm,
Decide the thing that you're good at and be extremely good at that. And don't get sucked in. Don't waver. Everyone else is going to tell you you should this and you should that and you should this and you should that and you should offer this. And what if you did that? Don't do it. Like concentrate and dominate. And you use the words choosing to go all in because there
mhm.
is a choice in it, right? And when you make a choice to this thing, you're making an exclusionary choice of all of the other things. And that
Yeah.
level of discipline and that level of commitment and that level of, let's go is hard. But the payoff for you has been not only being able to be the dominant one in your field, but also to be able to develop that expertise so fast. And it's a really cool concept that I hadn't yet considered. That no that you're saying to everything else does allow you to really create this dominant place. Very, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And that committing or that deciding, I think the root of deciding is to cut off. And so
Mm.
it felt very visceral to me that I was cutting off 99% of all opportunities out there, because I was able to do so many things and I had done so many things and I was known for so many things. And so people did continue to come to me asking for these things. And I had to say, while I would like to take your money, while I could easily fulfill that, I am going to say no, because I am
Yes.
only doing this one thing. So if you
Yes.
want this one thing, I'm happy to work with you. But if you don't, I'm not doing anything else. And that
Yes.
was that was a bit of a scary thing because I mean, you're
Sure.
starting over from scratch, you're starting at zero
Right.
revenue,
Right.
and I'm turning down revenue in order for keeping myself available to the next person that wants to be in my 1%.
Sure.
But then that started to quickly grow and grow and snowball so that everyone coming to me was in that 1%.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love the root of deciding is to cut off, right? Like you have
Mhm.
to say no, have to say no to the good so you can say yes to the great, right? And then there comes a
Yes.
point at which you have to say no to the great so you can say yes to the excellent, right? And then
Mm.
no to the excellent to say yes to the genius, right? Like that is a progressively more difficult decision to make because it's not like you're saying no to things that are bad. You're saying no to things that are incredibly good so that you have the room to embrace those things that you personally are uniquely gifted to bring. It's
Mm.
pretty cool. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, very cool. I am 100% sure that this has not been all roses, no thorns. You and I have jammed on that many a times together,
Yes.
and there's been many a wandering. And I also want to just, for my listeners out there, I just want to applaud Jordan's path because he has been very willing to take that personal development, personal growth really seriously. And that's what it takes as a very highly successful leader is for you to be willing to grow and to change and to become the best version of yourself. And there is so much cutting off. There is so much letting go. There is so much transformational movement in that. And I've watched from the sidelines as you've taken that journey really seriously, and it's a hard journey, right? It's a
Mm.
very hard journey, and very few people take it so willingly. Often it's taken like really bitter medicine, and we're like, well, I guess I'm forced. I guess I'll do it. But that's not been your approach. You've really embraced that personal development side of entrepreneurship. And I just want to applaud you for it because it's not something that many people do.
Mm.
So sometimes when we take that bold approach to personal development, we end up with a little bit more thorns along the way. So, what is one of those unexpected hurdles or difficulties that you've encountered along the journey?
Yeah, such a great question. And I would love to touch on a little bit of the philosophy I have around that,
Yeah.
which has come from 10x is easier than 2x.
Mhm.
And when you talk about entrepreneurship, what is an entrepreneur? I think there's a lot of different perspectives or definitions. And sometimes people running small businesses may be considered more of an operator or kind of a
Mhm.
manager. And when I think about the journey that I'm on, I think about it as high growth entrepreneurship. Yes, from the business side, but almost more from my personal side. Like I'm trying to achieve
Mm.
high growth and high identity change and figuring out what is the ultimate form of what I can do and become and be. And there's a lot in that because it's not always about what I'm doing, but who I'm becoming and the identity
Mhm.
around my future self as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a person, as a man. So that book talks a lot about figuring out your future self
Mhm.
identity and
Mhm.
then starting to live your life today as that person lives their life in the future. And that's how you
Yes.
collapse the gap and become that person even faster. And so
Mhm.
I don't think everyone has that perspective because it is painful. You're
Yes.
constantly taking leaps, literally leaps of faith that are terrifying
Yes.
and risky. And you're like, I don't know how to do any of these things. Like, yes, that's what it means is you will be constantly going forward into things you don't know how to do. And
Yep.
so there's so much risk of being embarrassed and failing and all of these things. So there have definitely been failures. One of the things that comes to mind last year, but again, it's like reframing what a failure is.
Sure.
So
Sure.
one of the, I'm in a service business, a consulting expertise service business.
Sure.
One of the things I did last year that everybody says is, become the visionary and scale the team and delegate and lead and do all of these things. And I did that. And about a year later, that team ended up leaving for different reasons.
Mm.
And I'm kind of right back where I started. And
Mm.
it was a very interesting full circle experience because I got more and more removed from the front lines of the business from working directly with the clients because
Yep.
I was focusing more on creating process and procedures and best practices and then having the team implement all of those things,
Yes.
thinking that's how I grow and scale. and I want to get
Mhm.
more and more leverage and more
Sure.
removed and all of that. And now that we're in a more leaner position than I've been, I had to make a decision when that team was leaving of what am I going to do? Am I
Sure.
going to replace this team and go out and find brand new people and then train them up? Or am I going to step back in and fully own and
Sure.
fully commit to my clients and our delivery and everything? And I chose to go fully back in. And
Yeah.
that's kind of where I started, right?
Right.
And you could look at that as a potential failure.
Yeah.
But I actually see it as a massive win because the business feels healthier and stronger in this leaner position than it has
Right.
when we were bigger.
Sure.
I've also matured and become wiser and have more experience, one more year than I did a year ago.
Sure.
And what we're now looking at doing is leaning more into other ways of getting leverage and scale through recording content and doing AI and doing automations and tools and
Sure.
software rather than just hiring more and more people to repeat the same thing. So now I'm looking at how do I actually do things more efficiently that also might be a better experience for our clients.
Right.
So then it becomes an
Right.
even better win-win scenario. So
Yeah.
there have been other probably bloodier, messier stumbles, but this one has been an interesting one for me
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, because it also has to do with your picture. Like, what do you picture success looks like? What does that mean to you? Why do you believe it to be true?
Hmm.
What did people tell you you need? And what does your business actually need? Right. Sometimes the solution is you do need bodies, right? You do need
Yes.
actual humans doing different things. Sometimes it's actually that, an automated solution is a better solution, right? It's a more predictable, repeatable
Yeah.
solution than a person. And when you're in a business like yours, it's very different than when you're in, a flooring business or when you're in a home services business where you do
Yes.
need actual humans to do the things, right? And you need people to manage those people, right? Like that becomes
Hmm.
really different sort of component parts, right? There are so many things that you said though that I want to just pause on. And one of them is when you're collapsing this vision of between who you are and who you want to become and who you are being today. One of my coaches told me that you have to be who you're becoming at all times, right? And it goes back to that like early career advice: dress for the job you want, not for the job you have, right? Like that's the same thing. It's coming from that same understanding of if you want to be in this place, you have to take the actions and the decisions of the person who's in that place already. And
Yes.
and you said these words and it made me chuckle for a long time, but it is painful, right? It is painful to grow
Yeah.
at that accelerated rate because there is so much of that letting go. There is so much of shedding of what that person over here who you're becoming won't be doing, can't be worried
Yes.
about, can't be focused on, can't be wasting their time and effort and energy on. And that can be really hard. I tell my close circle, not something I usually say on the podcast. So here we are, that I'm a fast moving river, right? I change quite rapidly. And that can be really difficult for the people around you, right? When you change so much so fast, on the outside, doesn't look like I do, but on the inside and how you look at things and the way you perceive the world around you, when it's such a radical
Mm.
transformation, it can feel very alienating because it doesn't seem like you've changed at all when all of your change has happened within. It's
Yeah.
radical.
I resonate a lot with that. I can have a deep conversation with someone and come away with a new perspective or a deeper, different understanding, or maybe even just having a new level of internal alignment and really deciding, getting clear on what I want
Sure.
and change very quickly and then be like, all right, this is the new direction. It's
Yeah.
not going to be radically different. Like we're going to shut this business down and we're going to go start a completely new business
Sure.
in a new
Sure.
industry. But I like that fast moving river analogy. I haven't thought of that before, but yeah, it's like when you are a high growth entrepreneur and you're shedding that old identity, there are things that are happening on a regular basis that are helping to guide and influence you if you are pursuing that and aware to it. It's like what you seek, you will find. And so if you are constantly looking for those inputs and those people and those ideas and perspectives, then they will come to you a lot.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to take advantage of those things and respond and not just ignore them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That agility at speed is very different than agility not at speed, right?
Yes.
It requires something different. You have to be able to have such high reflexes. And what you're talking about, they're inner reflexes. They're shown up in the external world, but sometimes the external action looks like inaction, right? Is a pause,
Mm.
is a wait, is a be silent, is a go take a day away, is a, sometimes that ability to respond comes in the silence, comes in the
Mm.
stillness between the inspiration and then the future action, right? And that ability to be in that still space is painful. It can be
Yeah.
really painful, right?
Hmm.
Actually, working on my next children's story, and it's called The Uncertain Butterfly. And it's all about the problem of metamorphosis, the discomfort of metamorphosis. We talk about it, but
Mm.
inside of the chrysalis, what happens to the caterpillar? It literally melts into what are called imaginal cells. And that, what used to be the caterpillar's foot, now has pure potency. It can be their eye, it can be part of the wing, it can go back to being a foot, right? It doesn't have a defined, inside of every cell of that crystallized caterpillar, every single cell has pure potency. And
Mm.
then it reconfigures itself into this whole new shape of butterfly. Then the butterfly comes out of the chrysalis at the bottom and it dangles there, has to let the liquid flow into its wings. Then it has to dry its wings. And then and only then can it fly. And so often we think chrysalis, we think caterpillar, chrysalis, butterfly. We don't
Hmm.
stop to think what happens inside of that chrysalis, what happens in that time of silence, right? Sometimes your whole identity of what you thought was going to happen shifts because you learn something new. And then your butterfly on the other side might look like a 3% shift in what you're doing in the world, but it's totally reconfigured in your mind, right? Powerful stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think of a few different things. One is patience,
Yes.
and one is endurance, right? I
Yes.
think entrepreneurship is an endurance game that
Mhm.
requires massive resilience. I don't know about your journey, your experience, but mine usually feels like a roller coaster. Um, there's a famous quote from a VC that entrepreneurs only feel two emotions: agony and ecstasy. It's like
True.
this is either the best day ever, the best week ever, the best quarter ever, or this freaking sucks. I hate this. I'm gonna die. I want to quit. Like it's usually not very much in between those. It's like that's where it typically is.
Yep.
We can do things to maybe like start to move it away from the extremes, but it's about staying in the game during those hard moments where you want to die,
Yes.
you want to quit, because this too shall pass. Like it is
Right.
not going to feel like this forever.
Right.
And there's another image that comes to my mind of um, it's like a side view of these two miners that are chipping away to look for diamonds,
Sure.
right? And they're like halfway through the rock chipping, and we as the viewer can see that they're heading towards the diamond. But the one
Yes.
guy, 1 foot away, he stops and he says, "Well, there's no diamonds here," and he turns and he
Right.
leaves. And the next guy keeps going, and then finally he hits it. And so
Yeah.
the hard part is we don't know when the diamond is in
That's
front of us or
right.
how far it is. But
That's
if you
right.
never stop, you are more likely to find it.
That's right. It's that 3 feet from gold. Like, yeah, you
Yeah.
feel three
Yes,
feet
that's
from
it.
gold, but 3 feet has lasted 500 years now.
Yeah.
And that's those low moments. It can feel like 3 feet is taking 500 years, which is sometimes the equivalent of 5 days, right?
Yes.
It's just that the time elasticity too. Sometimes those moments of pain, those moments of low and slow can feel extraordinarily long when really they're in the macro, they're quite brief, right? So
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's a beautiful, beautiful journey. I love some of the component parts that you pointed to: patience, endurance, resilience, really required, right? Non-negotiable if you want to be a high growth entrepreneur. And that high growth is not necessarily only related to or primarily related to financial outcomes. It's that
Yes.
you yourself are taking a transformational journey into who you're becoming and what you're contributing to the world in a greater way. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm just compelled to ask one thing before we get to the flagship question. I don't usually ask this, but I'm just winging it because I just feel compelled to ask. I am so curious if, grown up Jordan from today were to talk to burgeoning entrepreneur Jordan, what
Okay.
would you tell him that he didn't know then, that if he had known then, he would have saved himself maybe some of the agony moments?
Hmm.
I'm really stumping you here. I know. I don't
Yeah.
usually just spring a question on a guest. Guys, listen, and gals listening at home, this is not my norm. Usually let the guests know in advance so they're ready. But I just have a feeling there's going to be a little nugget of wisdom here that we're going to give Jordan a second to find, because I know there's something beautiful just simmering here on the surface.
Yeah, we'll have to cut out some of the dead air here as I'm
You're
thinking.
fine.
Um, what would today tell? Yeah.
Like, what's one of the things you wish you knew that you didn't? Because you said patience, endurance, resilience. Did you know that from the beginning? I didn't.
Hmm. Probably not. I think there's a few things that come to mind. One would be how important it is to pursue excellence and to
Mm,
truly be the best and to build a life of excellence that I think starts with you and who you are.
mm,
And we always tend to look at the external stuff, whether it's how many employees or how much revenue or whatever. But the thing I like about entrepreneurship, I've heard it said that your business will never surpass your level of personal development. So
mm.
wherever you have that bottleneck in your life, the thing that you're avoiding or you're ignoring or you won't, seek help on, like that is where you're going to stay stuck. If you can't confront people, if you can't have a hard conversation, if you can't receive criticism, like that's going to be the thing that keeps you stuck at that certain level.
Yeah.
So maybe it would be hire a coach, hire a therapist, like as soon as possible.
The
Just
ASAP therapist
yeah,
stat.
right. And I think what I'm continuing to learn right now and teach myself is to run your own race and that it is
Mm,
going to look different than everyone else's because it is so easy to compare and so easy to want what someone else has. And I heard it said that you may want to switch businesses or incomes with that person, but in order to do that, you have to switch everything else in your life. You have to, you
yes.
know, take their family and take their childhood and take their
Yes.
traumas and would you do that? And at that point almost all of us would say no, I wouldn't
No
give up
thanks. Yeah.
everything I have and everyone in my life and just to have
Yeah.
their revenue or whatever, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
So it's about how we feel about ourselves and running our own race and really figuring out what do I want and what do I need. Maybe
Mm,
that's to feel successful or to feel good enough or just to feel that I'm doing enough. And I think
yeah.
it's a hard question,
Yeah.
but we've all heard that money doesn't fill all of those holes and voids in our life that are
Yeah.
non-money things,
Yeah.
even though a lot of times we try to make it do that.
Yeah.
And so I think figuring that out as early as possible would be my advice.
Yeah. My dad used to tell the story of this entrepreneur he really greatly admired who was being interviewed. And he's extremely wealthy. And he was asked by the host, so, what is it like at the top? And his answer was, it's an empty bag. Because if
Hmm.
you burn everything else on your way, you still have nothing at the top. Right. So that speaks to that, like finding who you are sooner. So that was beautiful. Thank you for letting me put you a little bit on the spot there for a moment, my friend. I appreciate that. I knew something beautiful would come of it. And with everything that we've journeyed through, all these highs and lows, and this really bold approach to entrepreneurship, I'm really curious if you
Yeah.
now consider yourself to be successful.
So the answer is yes. And I want to like laughingly say beyond a shadow of a doubt, yes. And the reason
Mm,
why I'm laughing and smiling, because you and I have talked about this a lot offline and in our different chats, I am nowhere near the revenue that I know that I will achieve or can achieve or I'm capable of achieving. And for the longest time, that was the only thing that I used to measure success.
yes.
And if I had an up month, a record breaking month, then I was on top of the world. I'm so
Yep.
successful. I'm so smart. I'm so great. And then if we crash the next month, I'm a fraud. It was a fluke. I don't know what I'm
Sure.
doing. I suck.
Yep.
And that's a hard roller coaster to be on emotionally. And so
Yep.
I have learned that I am extremely wealthy in all of the ways that matter and in all of the ways that must be built and earned and created and developed and invested in over time. And that can literally not be bought with money.
Mm,
So, some of the things that come to mind when I look for evidence of this, because this is not just puff myself up in the mirror and tell me I'm
sure.
so great. Um, when I sit down and I think about this and I journal about this, I realize I get to work with who I want, when I want, how I want, charge what I want, and they come to me for that. So that's kind of the business
Mm,
professional side. So that's an incredible amount of freedom, leverage, agency, opportunity. I can literally go after anything I want from a, offers and business
yeah.
perspective and strategy and models. So that feels so freeing. And I'm so grateful for that because I know for people listening that maybe want to become an entrepreneur but are in a full-time job, it is really, really hard to get out of that and get into this
Yes.
environment of you have full control of your time and of your
Yes.
resources and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful that I'm in this environment that I get to mold and curate. So that's one thing that makes me feel very successful. And then two is I have a family, I have relationships, I have a wife and I have a daughter who love me and I love them. We get to be together and we live in Mexico and
Mm,
we get to we just got back from Europe last month. Like
yep.
what I've realized is if you dropped $50 million in my bank account tomorrow, not a whole lot would change, which
Mm,
is so surreal to me because I still feel like I'm in the early days of my journey and I'm still on the come up and and I'm not earning anywhere near the millions and millions and millions of dollars that we see all of these celebrities and
sure.
professional sports people making and living these big lives. But I
Yeah.
feel like I am living such a life of abundance and love and gratitude that um, it just I'm so grateful and thankful for it. So
This is so beautiful. And what I love to do when people share their stories around success, because there's always a story, right? There's always something more in the answer to that question. And one of the things I like to do is backwards engineer a little success algorithm. And you said two things, but there's way more than two component parts in your success algorithm. So we're gonna break it down a little bit and
okay,
see how close I got here. And I think that there's one component that you didn't say in your explanation that you talked a
sure,
lot about earlier that I just took the liberty of adding in. So I reframed what you shared and
okay,
let's see how well I did. So
yeah.
this is a let's see how it goes. All right, for Jordan, success equals being wealthy in all the ways that matter, plus being rich in the things that money can't buy, plus being able to build the business that I desire, plus magnetizing a tribe of people I love to work with, plus loving and being loved within my family, plus time freedom, plus abundance, plus impact.
Mhm. Yes, I love it.
Yes. That is a
That's a good
very
formula.
that is a very good formula. That is a very well-rounded
Mm,
um algorithm of success and it's among the most dynamic algorithms that I have had the honor of building out. So that is really beautiful. I really appreciated the loving and being loved by my family
Mm,
component, because that is something that is often overlooked and undervalued, right? And
yeah.
that is one of those being rich in the things money can't buy, right? If you don't
Yeah.
invest in the relationships in your home, in your private life, you're not going to have them.
Yeah. And just to elaborate a little bit more on that, I feel like being successful is what we say we want. And what I think we want it to mean is that feel happy or that we feel fulfilled. Like that's what we all
Yes.
want to feel at the end of the day. Because even if we are financially successful, but we all know those people, you can also be miserable, right?
Yes.
Like you can have none of those relationships. Like
Hmm.
we even look at some of those people like Steve Jobs and other people that say, yeah, they might have been brilliant in the professional dimension, but
Yeah.
they were horrible to work for or be around or any of those other
Sure.
things, right? So I want to be successful in all of the dimensions of life. And one of the things that I've latched onto is just this simple quote or which is progress equals happiness. And so a lot
Hmm.
of times if we feel completely stuck, we have no options, we're not moving, we can't get going, like that's a hard place to be in. And that creates,
Right.
right, a lot of we lose hope, we lose faith, we get depressed, right? So
Sure.
in that high growth mindset, making progress towards a goal that we choose and then seeing the fruit of that and knowing that we have agency over our life to shape it and to change the things that we don't like and to go after our goals and dreams. And then when those things change, we can pivot. And so
Yeah,
to me, that's an intangible but such a valuable element of success
for sure.
that I'm very grateful for.
Yeah. And I'm really grateful to be able to have these conversations because I feel so often that success is what your earlier self was gauging it on, money, right? But if you do bank account balance self-worth, that is a wild ride. That's not the fun sort of roller coaster. That's a sort of roller coaster where you're like, why am I on this? It's giving me the worst upset stomach ever, right?
Yeah.
And you cannot have self-worth that's so strictly tied to cash flow, especially as an entrepreneur, right? Because cash flow changes wildly, varies wildly, and you can't always have it be predictable until much further along in your journey, right? And even then, you still don't want your self worth tied to money. You still don't want your self worth because that is I always say that money is the poorest measure of success because people who are not successful can have money, right? And
Mhm.
if we broaden our definition of success, it's important to remember that we get to define it. We are the ones who get to say what goes into my algorithm and then to hold ourselves accountable for filling our part, right? If you don't have the type of robust relationships that you want, if you aren't being loved and loving within your family unit, why not? Right? The person who can change that is staring at you in the mirror, right? And it's not your spouse, it's you, right? You can change that because that is the one who you have the most maximum control over is yourself, right? And when you put yourself in the driver's seat of your own success, your own fulfillment, your own happiness, then you recognize that you have exactly the life that you want. And if you're looking at yourself, you're looking at your life with dissatisfaction or a component of your life is causing you to have extreme pain and unhappiness and turmoil, you have the power to change it at all times. At all
Yeah.
times. Yes. Well, my friend, that was quite the conversation. And before we got rolling, Jordan was saying we could probably talk for an hour and a half. And I was like, absolutely not. We have to stop in 45 minutes. And here we are violating our own rules. So I think that we should leave it there. This has been such a rich and robust conversation, just into the dynamic ups and downs, the turbulence, and also the delights of the entrepreneurial journey and who you get to become along the way. And that word get is so important because no one's forcing you. You don't have to, but you get to. You have the opportunity to become the richest, wealthiest, most happy and fulfilled version of yourself. And what a beautiful journey that you've shared with us along your pathway of getting there. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Madeline. Just the fact that you are having these conversations, it's always such a joy to talk to you. And when I tell people about you, I'm always like, she's a client slash friend slash coach. Like you've coached me. It's like we just have such a multi-dimensional relationship. And it's been so cool to have these deep conversations with you. And I think anyone listening is lucky to get to learn from you and have these. And it's such a joy. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, it's truly my pleasure. It's one of my greatest delights in life is getting to have these conversations with people and also to share them with the world, right? I was telling you before the show that I just like people to feel like they get to be a fly on the wall of two cool people jamming about stuff that they're passionate about. And, it's really exciting to be able to be catalytic for these conversations because they're so needed, right? They're so needed. And if we're not having them publicly, then they're just going to remain needed, right? So let's bring them out there. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep shining. Let's keep going. I love it. If people want to connect with you further, where can they
Mhm.
find you?
I would say the best place would be at my website, which would be growthcommunity.co. And also check me out on LinkedIn.
That's right. He's a beast on LinkedIn. So we'll tag you on your LinkedIn profile here in the show notes. Again, thank you for being an incredible guest. So have appreciated. And for those of you listening from home, don't forget that you have agency in your own life. This is your beautiful life, and you get to choose who you want to become along the way. And you get to be that person every single day. It is incredible, immeasurable privilege that you have to self determine your future and make sure every single day that you're moving in the direction of the person you want to become. All right, everybody, until next time, catch you on the next show. Bye for now. That's it for today's episode of the Bold Enough podcast. If you found this conversation valuable, make sure that you follow the show and don't miss what's next. We're going to keep having conversations about success that people usually avoid. I'm Madeleine MacRae. Thanks for joining me.